Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John becomes an overnight Lakers fan and tells us what song could be used to torture him into submission. Meanwhile, I go to a Celine Dion concert and reveal the secret to a great comedy venue. Plus a conversation about prayer and how our thoughts steer the direction of our lives for better or worse. Today's episode is not sponsored by fireworks. This year, put some Chinese-made explosives on your credit card and light them, for freedom. But first, a word from our actual sponsor.
Slather up that 80 SPF, Johnny. Let's talk about that. We're bringing in the heat.
What are you slathering up?
SPF 80?
Oh.
Yeah. Johnny, that's sunscreen.
You said 80 SPF. I would think SPF 80. I thought you were saying like AD, the letters AD. Oh. That 80 SPF, I was like, what abbreviation is he?
Domini.
That was wild.
I just went Latin into, no, man, come on.
Yeah, okay. Sun protection factor.
Why don't I even waste my witty retorts?
Do you use 80? That's a lot.
I could use 80. Have you seen me?
Well, you get a little
almost translucent.
You can tan a little bit though.
I know what I've been tanning
when you're out running.
The last
You've been
few
tanning?
Summers. No, I'm saying I've gotten tan.
Okay. Not like going and getting in the coffin bed thing.
Well, I mean, we have the sun.
Do people still do? I know what we have, John.
Johnny, have you seen the sun?
Do people still do the tanning bed thing?
Well,
are those still popular? Because now we know a lot more about.
Yeah, I will hear I've heard teenage
things.
Girls recently talk about it, and they're like,
"Yeah,
look, I'm going to have to go. Like, I know it's getting bad for me, and that someday I'll regret it. But right now, I really need a tan. Like, I've heard that a few times.
Oh, they go
lately.
like Sadie's friends go tan.
I didn't say it was Sadie's friends.
Well, I did.
Maybe I'm overhearing people at the mall or something. You think that
the young people?
You'll notice I carefully never say if I'm
right.
vague about a source.
Because they're probably listeners and patrons.
Exactly.
John, how would you become a patron of the show?
Well, I think you'd go to talkaboutthatpodcast.com.
And then you click on support the show, upper right-hand little button there.
Oh, it's great.
And you can send us a note there if you want to. Send us just an email of just support. Yeah. And loving kindness.
Oh, my goodness.
Or you can just go to hello at talkaboutthatpodcast.com.
I think you'd call us both words of affirmation people.
Words?
Words.
That's like, I thought you said words of affirmation. You're already on the wrong foot.
Words, Johnny.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah. I think I think so.
You're kind of a quality time guy too.
Mate, I think you think that because I get on to you sometimes about like
not spending.
If we're not spending quality time, or if it feels like everything's just around. Okay, well, we got a podcast to shoot, but then we just don't hang out outside that.
Wow.
Then you go. Well, I know Johnny's got this glitch. He wants to spend time with his friends. What a loser.
Let me ask you this.
I don't think that's a glitch. I think friends want to spend time with each other.
The other day, I text my friend and I say, I forget what all we talked about. And I go, hey, besides, what are we doing for your birthday next week?
Right.
You don't respond. And then the next week I go, dude, you never answer me.
Yeah.
What are we doing for your birthday? And you know what you go? You're like, I don't know. I don't care. So like, don't give me all this stuff.
I think you knew that
Well, you thought you knew I was going to catch you in a moment. You didn't care, or you're busy.
And then you're like, these words will do me right here. I can throw some words at him. This will tide him over.
I expected you.
I just want to say that your friendship means so much to me. Are we good? Okay, we're good. We got what we need.
You need another take?
He said he's good.
All you had to do, I was expecting you to say, yeah, man, let's go to Topgolf or let's go to whatever, and you didn't.
We're going to Vegas, John.
Okay. What are we going to do in Vegas?
I don't know.
We're going to go see shows. That's it. We don't do casinos.
Two dudes seeing shows together.
Nothing to see.
Nothing
here.
weird about that.
Not at all. We don't really do a lot of buffets anymore. Like
I've told the story
days.
of going to Celine Dion with Jeffrey Holland, right? Have I ever told on the podcast?
Maybe. I've heard about it.
So years ago, it's a kind of a weird story because a church reached out to me because they wanted to use a video of ours, a song I had written about coffee with the pastor. Do you remember this?
No.
So we used to do this thing called Coffee with the Pastor, and a lot of churches do something, or Lunch with the Pastor, but we did one called Coffee with the Pastor, and it's for people who have only been coming to church a short time, and they want to learn more about the church. Here's an informal thing, blah, blah, blah. So I wrote this song called Coffee with the Pastor, or it was called We Love Coffee, and it's just a dumb, silly song. Yeah. And I think it had a line in it that's something like, It's the only pot we officially endorse. It was a lot of like
right.
pot language, caffeine and stuff. So anyway, it went on Vimeo, and somehow this church in Las Vegas saw it, and they were like, we want to know if we can use that song because we do a similar event. I go,
we want to give you a residency.
I said, sure. Yeah, exactly. Can you come out? We're going to build an arena around you, the acoustics of your voice. A Celine reference.
Yeah.
So I said, well, hey, and of course I'm feeling bold. It's like 2010. I've been doing comedy 2 years.
You're like, yeah.
I go, not only can you use it, but I'd love to come sing it in person. Well, I was just being, you have nothing to lose.
Right.
Well, they go, well, what would that cost? And I go, oh, I don't know.
$300.
Yeah, probably. Probably was.
Just pay my plane ticket. Yeah.
And they said, yeah, we'll pay your travel. And then they had a timeshare.
Wow.
And they said, well, we have people who have timeshares that go to our, because that's Vegas. Vegas culture is a lot of people work in the hotel industry or whatever. And they said, this one couple in our church, we'll just let you use their villa or whatever. They was right off the strip. Yeah. It's not on the strip, but it's right off 1 block away. So that same week was NAB, which is whatever, all the new gearheads go there. And it's in Vegas at the convention center. So all the new cameras, all the new whatever.
National Association of Broadcasters?
Maybe. I can't, maybe that's what it is. But anyway.
Jeffrey's screaming right now.
He is, for sure.
Sorry, bud.
I think it's NAB. Anyway, it's a big deal. And Jeffrey, our friend who was, he did all the video stuff for the church, any silly video we'd ever made for the church. And he was helping with my shows at the time.
Yeah.
And so I go, hey, man. And it was the same week. We figured out a way to get them to go for that week because they wanted Palm Sunday week.
Wow.
Which is really weird to bring in a comedian to speak at your church.
On Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday. Here's their thinking.
You know the funniest story in the Bible?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this donkey.
Well, here's their thinking. I think they thought we need something to, like, let's get visitors in and then we'll retain them for Easter.
Mm.
I thought it was an interesting strategy. And I've actually done Palm Sunday quite a few times at churches. So it's something that some churches do. And of course, I did some serious stuff too. I didn't just do comedy. Okay, John.
It's a lot of defending.
This is a long story. But I think it's still interesting to me. Okay, so all that said, so now Jeffrey's with me. He goes, we'll go. And we got this. And I swear to you, this timeshare, it was bigger. It was twice as big as my house.
Wow.
It was huge. And so, and we're on opposite ends of this thing. It's wild how big. And it was one of those where you don't send a picture to your wife. Yeah. To be like, you're not going to believe where I am. I just went, it's fine.
It's okay.
It's fine. I don't see any bed bugs. We're okay.
You wouldn't
Me
have
and
any
Jeffrey
fun.
are like, can you believe this?
Right.
So since I got us the hotel for the week, and Jeffrey's getting to go to his cool techie convention, he goes, I'll buy us tickets to a show. He goes, we're going to go see Celine. I go, dude, I'm not going to see Celine with another dude. He goes, no, we're going to go. And so there was an Apple keynote that day,
okay,
in Vegas. So we go see that, and that's like seeing the Beatles to Jeffrey, like being there for an Apple reveal. It was it wasn't like Steve Jobs, but it was
was that still Steve Jobs?
It was about Final Cut Pro. It was an announcement about here's a new feature of Final Cut Pro. Now this button does this, and he was like, and everybody cheers, and right. I go, I don't get it.
I know.
And then we literally had to leave that and run to get a cab or something to make it to
Celine.
Caesar's Palace to see Celine. And so here we were, and I'm with this dude who's 15 years younger than me, and we looked 100% like we were a couple. I looked around, I was like, this is wild. It was husbands who'd been dragged there by their wives.
And then you guys.
And people that looked like me and Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And it was wild. But you know what? It was
so good.
It was such a great show.
Yeah, she could sing.
And now she's had to, she's been forced into early retirement. She's got an illness. And we hope you feel better, Celine. But it was an amazing show.
I feel like the promise of building an arena around the acoustics of your voice would be one that would be hard to verify.
Right.
You could just tell them you did that.
Yeah.
And as long as your microphone's up.
Yeah, there was a guy when I worked at the movie theater for many years. He would come in and calibrate the systems. And I would be like, I finally asked him, I go, what is THX? Because, they go, THX. It would be like this. And they'd play this thing. And he goes, it's just real loud. He goes, I'll just be honest with you. He goes, it's just big speakers and it's really loud.
Yeah.
And so people think it's some impressive technology. And he goes, there's some digital elements to it. He goes, but it's just really good speakers.
Yeah.
So if you're a Celine and you go, I can't believe how good I sound. They go, we built this around your voice.
Right.
Really? It'd be easy to be swayed by that.
Yeah.
Show me specifically what you did. We used concrete. Oh, that sounds very fancy.
We made it at this angle. What angle was it?
It's a
right angle.
Wow, so revolutionary.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel that maybe she was taken for a ride.
I wonder if they've ever promised a comedian anything like that. We will make this the most. Now, I will say that when they build comedy clubs, there is something you can do to make them very. There's some rules you need to follow if you want a good show. Like if I had 10 things.
Number 1, don't bring in Jonnie.
Number 1, get a better comic. Yes. Number 1 would actually be a low ceiling.
I thought number 1 was no eating and drinking.
No, there's...
Well, you can... eating, you can drink.
Yeah, but although comedy clubs, there's always eating going on. They're dropping checks and people are paying their bills when you're at the end of your set.
They don't want
sometimes.
you coming up, though. Well, put it this way. If it's like a banquet or something.
Yeah.
Don't let you go while they're handing out the entrees.
Right. But sometimes that can't be avoided. But I wouldn't make it a rule. But I was saying, like, as far as the shape and size of a room.
Yeah, low ceiling.
Low lighting, low ceiling. People clustered together, not spread out.
Right.
Like there's a lot of things. That's why, somebody used to have a bit about that, about how like things for how you know if you have a good elements for a comedy show is if it would be terrible in a fire. He goes,
or a pandemic, right?
Yeah, if it's in a fire, if this room caught fire, we all would die. That's a great comedy show.
Perfect.
If you're at the beach, everybody could just run in every direction. Terrible for comedy.
Yeah.
You would never do a comedy show on the beach.
No.
People just on towels, like spread out. You're like, I don't know why this isn't going well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, speaking of things going well, John.
Yeah.
People really enjoy the times they get to hear from our sponsors. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. We heard from so many. Let's take a moment and hear what our sponsors have to say. Jonnie, I think it's time to just go straight to it.
Is it?
Don't you?
Maybe.
Or is there something else you want to say?
Well, I never got to finish asking you, like, what SPF do you use? Like, do you really use 80? You don't use 80.
No, between 30 and 50.
That's like leather protectant. 80. That's like.
Well, all it is, by the way.
That's just a coat. You just put a coat on.
So my wife taught me this the other day.
Okay.
We all act like that 50 is way different than 30, different than 80. All it really is that's the number of minutes you can spend in the sun before that wears off.
Right.
So it's really the same stuff. So like if you took 80 and you stayed out for 4 hours, or you took 30 and you stayed out for 1 hour, like you're going to have basically the same effect.
The same level of burn.
Before you have to reapply.
And if you get in the water, that's a whole other thing.
Unless it's waterproof.
Well.
Anyway,
if you're swishing around, it's going to come.
Most of it's waterproof. So
that's what they want you to think.
That's what they
big sunscreen.
I did get a tan the last few years. Not today, not this summer. This summer I'm writing.
Oh, John, you look fantastic.
No, I'm struggling.
Mediterranean thing going on.
I can't keep my head above water a little bit. I'm just, yeah.
It's time for a sabbatical.
Boy, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I want one of those. I would
one
just
of those
take.
Fancy Are you going to be one of those sabbatical pastors? Fancy sabbatical pastors?
If they ever asked me to be the lead pastor, I don't know what I would do.
You would say, let me take a 2-month sabbatical with pay and think about it. And you come back and go, nope.
But I often think because I have an agent friend.
Yeah.
And they had a new restructuring and they put it into their agreement. There's three like partners, and every 3 years they rotate through a month sabbatical. I was like, that's brilliant, because it's a very, high degree of stress job. So I would almost be like...
And isn't this your agent? Yeah. You know he's taking the sabbatical with your money.
No, it's not much of my money. He's taking it with.
You're 10%. He's going to Greece.
It's 15, but...
Oh.
But...
man, you're getting ripped off.
If you knew how many books I sold, you'd know
that's true.
It's amazing they keep me on the roster.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I think I would be like, hey, I think once every... I don't know. Now I'm at that age, like, that whole youth is wasted on the young thing. Mm-hmm. We have... Laura's cousin's daughter. I don't know. Laura's all about. She knows what the second
Laura's
cousins are.
Cousin's daughter.
The first cousin.
So she's
once
nothing.
removed.
She's nothing to you.
No, but she's got an internship. And
she's a stranger.
She's staying with us she's delightful. She's 22. Goes to school in Arkansas, and she's here for the summer doing an internship in Nashville. And I was making a joke about man, you guys, youth is wasted on the young. I was like, if I was young, I'd And I couldn't think of anything.
Right.
I was like, I mean, I'm so old now, I can't even think of what I would do if I was young.
You know what? I don't think that way. That has kind of like illuminated that for me. I think that's good, right? I think that's healthy. I don't really look back and be like, I wish I was young again and I could do. Maybe I'll get to that point and want,
Right.
Maybe it's because I was so big for so long and not healthy. And I feel like I'm healthier now than I was 10 years ago.
Right.
So I don't look back and be like, if I could just go back 10 years, I'd be like, no. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's about physical things to me as much as I don't think I'd change a lot. I mean, I think there's some mistakes.
No, I would. If I had your life, I would change a ton.
Oh.
I'm going to make a list.
Okay.
And then you'll have an answer for next time when she asks.
That's fair.
What would you even do? He'd be like, I've got to prepare to.
I think more importantly, what would you not do, John? Yeah.
No, but I think it's healthy to look back, but it's like not be imprisoned by those thoughts of like, what could I have changed? What did I do? What did I not do? So I think I don't have a lot of that. I'm a pretty content person. I was talking to somebody about that the other day about contentment with godliness is great gain, and like how I've really tried to let myself feel that more and really immerse myself in that thought. Just this idea of like, there's in a hustle culture world that we live in right now, it's so hard to embrace that because you feel like people around you are going to think you gave up. If you go, no, this is enough. Hey, I have a lot of work on my calendar. It's enough. Well, you're not going to push for this. You're not even real until you are a comic in New York or LA. I don't care. I don't care what they think about me. I have plenty of work.
Hey, and that's the gift of life, right?
But that feels like giving up to some people when you go, I'm content. Like they go, so you're just good now? Yeah. Pretty good. It's pretty good.
And that's good. I mean, again, all the mixed quotes from Dale Carnegie to whomever, but I mean, in the end, success is getting what you want, but real life or contentment is wanting what you got or what you get. So I mean, yeah, if you like what you got, isn't that what it was all about?
Yeah. So. Maya Angelou said that success is loving what you do and loving how you do it. It's pretty good. Yeah.
It's been said a lot of different ways.
It has.
I liked my way.
No.
Better than Maya Angelou.
I think
it was. Yeah.
That Maya Angelou. What was her problem?
Hey, speaking of quotes.
Oh, yeah, you got a quote for us.
I think it's that time,
John's
Johnny.
quote of the week.
And they talked about that. I
had to find
went
it.
for the high one on that one.
Got to take one ear off like they do in the studios here in Nashville.
I love it. Yeah, one of my favorite things is went to a Dave Barnes show one time, and he was like, you can tell when we're in Nashville, it's on a tour, at the end of a Christmas tour. He's like, because when we start singing, half the audience puts their hand up to one ear. It was so funny.
You got to find it.
So we can tell we're in Nashville now. Y'all are hitting like all kinds of harmonies.
And when you hit the high note, they got to go here with their hand. They got to move their hand to where it's going, like this imaginary line that they're going to. It's wonderful.
Julian of Norwich.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Earl of Norwich.
English theologian. She was known as Dame Julian or Mother Julian. But,
okay.
Middle Ages English. She's the one of my favorite quotes for her. It's not the one I'm talking about, but it's something to the effect of, it's just such a comforting thing is all will be well. All will be well. Mm-hmm. Every manner of things shall be well. Like it gets sort of translated, but it's like the idea of being okay with the idea that all's going to be well.
Yeah.
Like it's such a simple thing, but you think about how much if you just tell yourself all's going to be well. But that's not what I'm talking about today, John.
Oh, okay.
She says, the highest form of prayer is to the goodness of God. God only desires that our soul cling to him with all its strength, in particular, that it clings to his goodness. For all of the things our minds can think about God, it is thinking upon his goodness that pleases him most and brings the most profit to our soul. That just was like, we have a friend this week who's been on a transplant list. Been waiting for years.
Yeah.
And last night he got the call.
Yep.
And I was at the hospital with them last night, and consequently I'll be leading worship now this Sunday, to help out. And I was talking with the other worship leaders, like, man, I want to sing that Goodness of God song because it's like it's not just only in these moments, but the goodness of God is the thing that gets most eclipsed by the trouble of life.
Yeah.
and that we still have this unsolved, unresolved tension over, if God is good, why do I hurt, or why do bad things happen, or why is there stressful things? It is still, I think, from the beginning of time, in my opinion, the number one lie or the number one mystery that's struggled with. I mean, all the way back to the Garden of Eden.
Right.
You know, however you interpret those things, the narrative there is very important, that he's saying, he's telling you God doesn't want good for you, which is in essence saying, if God doesn't want good for his creation or his children, then God is not good.
Yeah.
That's really the implication there. God's not good. You can't trust him. He knows that if you do this, it's almost like not just that he's not good, he's keeping good from you.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want you to have it. So if you do what you want to do, then you'll be able to take control of good for yourself, because God can't be trusted to give it to you. So that idea of the highest sort of form, and specifically she's talking about prayer being this meditation on the goodness of God. And I have really, and I think, I'm going to be preaching in a few weeks on gratitude again in Psalm 100, enter his gates with thanksgiving and go into his courts with praise. But that idea of returning to goodness, or what you set your mind on, sounds like religious garble sometimes, oh my gosh, everybody, let's talk about how good God is, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or how many times did we grow up in charismatic churches where it's God is good all the time. It's like it became a cheer.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it meant something to the older people cheering it, but I don't know how it was for you. For younger people, it was like, we're just repeating this thing.
Right.
But to really meditate, or to come to a place where the goodness of God is informing.
Yeah.
Is I think the highest form of prayer. It's thinking upon his goodness that pleases him the most and brings the most profit to our soul. But how much is my prayer not about that? Right.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that yesterday. There's, as far as like how you set your mind on things, like you can decide, we've talked about that before, about like, there's some control you have over your thought life that we don't exercise enough. And like, it affects things, not just your mood. And I hadn't thought about this in a long time, or in this specific way, but there's a comedian friend of mine, and she goes to this church in Alpharetta, Georgia, I think it is. She posted a clip of her pastor. When I see pastor clips, sometimes I'm like, okay, all right, I see this guy. All right, he's jacked, of course. He's wearing a shirt that's a size too small. Let's hear it, buddy.
Right. And
he started talking, and I teared up. It made me like weep, what he said. He was talking about, he said, everybody here has experienced hurt in your life to the point where you are playing those words as a soundtrack in your head that you heard, be it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, your mom said this, your dad said this, you'll never be this, you'll never make it. And every time you hear it, it kills you every time. And he said, that's why we have a higher expectation as believers in Christ. That's why we're supposed to look for the good. We're supposed to think on the good. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, he goes, because we can't be the people that are doing that to other people. We can't be the ones that are causing those wounds. He's called us to something higher. And it hit me so hard for whatever reason. And I'm my job is I have a third eye in essence, and I'm kind of a critic of culture. That's part of what doing comedy is. And I can take that. But sometimes I feel like it bleeds over into my personality at large. And I thought about it because it's easy to think now we have such a victim mentality, I feel like, in this culture where we're always thinking about wounds that have been caused to us and who's to blame. Mm-hmm. And to your point about God's goodness, we're looking around for who's at fault. And when he said that, like, hey, you have caused wounds and we're called to something higher. This is why we have to protect our thought life. Yeah. Because otherwise we're running around with a knife and somebody's going to be mulling over things I said. Yeah. And the thought of that just wrecked me yesterday. And I thought about it all night. I was like, is there somebody out there that I have said something to and I'm the wound? That really wrecked me.
Interesting.
So I think that thinking on goodness and thinking about like God's goodness and thinking about trying to find something praiseworthy, which I know it's hard. It's harder than ever, it feels like, with a 24-hour news cycle. Because it doesn't sell. That's the other part. We always talk about that.
Right.
It doesn't get clicks. Praiseworthy things don't get clicks.
No.
And so
it doesn't mobilize either.
Yeah.
It doesn't get people on board for something regardless. Yeah. To move forward. Yeah. That's interesting. The thing is, the goodness shouldn't be that hard. And I don't mean it insensitively for someone, sitting in Gaza right now. You know what I'm saying? That might be, in those extreme situations, you often find people suffering there who can see goodness easier than those of us who are not.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes those are the greatest viewpoint of the goodness of God are, Holocaust survivors and people who've had cancer multiple times. I mean, I wrote a book for a guy named Tyler Trent, who died in his early 20s, from osteosarcoma, and had a huge story at Purdue University when he predicted it that Purdue would beat Ohio State, and kind of had this moment, but he felt that it was a chance for him not to waste what cancer was doing to him. Because the first time he got cancer, he really went internal, became bitter against people. And the second time, it's crazy. He wrote about this. He was like, I know this sounds crazy. I don't want cancer again, but I'm not going to waste this opportunity like I did last time. And there's a perspective there of what's good and not good. And he didn't survive physically, but his life made a bigger difference. And I just go, I can't speak for all of us, but man, when I'm so deep into this really small place of my problem, even though the problem may be big, but I have shrunk the world down to the size of my problem.
Right.
That I miss all the other parts, not just of this world, but of the things that God has created. I mean, and that's when I know I'm really like activated or triggered, is when I start to go to be grateful and I struggle to find something. That's a real warning sign for me. That's a good warning sign. Like it's a rumble strip. Yeah. Hey, you're near the ditch now, because that's dumb, right? You may not be able to see it, but start talking. Think about your marriage. Think about your friends. Think about God's forgiveness. Think about the breath in your lungs. Think about, if you really start going, the moment you can't see those things, then you're getting close to a place you shouldn't be. So move away from it. But yeah, Julian of Norwich, man.
Go Julian. Yeah. That's good. What year was she around?
14.
Middle ages?
1343 to 1416.
That's what I would have guessed.
I figured you were right on it.
Yeah. That was great. It's time for my new segment, John.
Oh, the new one.
The new one is Johnny's Joke of the Week. Johnny's old jokes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a few this week because I wanted to focus on one of my, it's interesting. He used to be called King of the One-Liners. So do you know about Henny Youngman? Have you ever heard the name Henny Youngman?
From you, I think.
Henny Youngman, I think he originally came out of vaudeville. He lived to be 91. But he used to come out with a violin. I can't remember if he ever even played it. He would hold it. I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen him play the violin. But he would do one-liners. He's the one who did Take My Wife, Please.
Okay.
So that's his most famous. Yeah. So he would start a joke and it would be like, take my wife. And he thought he was going to say, like, for example, he'd be like, please. Anyway, so he would say that every show. He would also stop and say, I love this crowd. Like, I thought that's so great to, like, compliment the crowd for being great. In the middle of you killing, you're like, it's the crowd, clearly. They're like, it is us. They're more likely to get on board. But I thought we could celebrate the life and career of Henny Youngman because I don't know how many of our listeners even know who he is. But it's so amazing when a joke structure is so good that it still holds up 50, 60 years later. Yeah. Or you can see how a joke led to other people writing a joke that's very similar. You go, well, yeah, Henny Youngman originally had this whole structure of this kind of joke. So here's one. A doctor gave a man 6 months to live. The man couldn't pay his bill, so he gave him another 6 months. It's great. It's perfect, right? Yeah. I told my doctor I broke my leg in 2 places. He told me to stop going to those places.
That's a Roy Stone joke.
Yeah, yeah. It's so good. Let's see. A self-taught man usually has a poor teacher and a worse student. That's almost like a Confucius. It's got a little pointedness to it. Yeah. If at first you don't succeed, so much for skydiving. I've heard variations of that joke. Yeah. I've heard people say, at first you don't succeed, maybe skydiving isn't for you. So it's really just a Henny Youngman joke from that's probably like the 50s, 40s. It's just incredible.
Vaudeville was like 20s, wasn't it? Or
yeah, and that's
teens?
when he was a kid, I think.
Okay,
so I think
okay.
he came out of that. I think he was born in the 19-teens and lived to be. I think he died in 96. So maybe he was. Yeah. Maybe early 2000s.
There's no way to know.
Yeah, there's no way to know.
Yeah.
Just got back from a pleasure trip. I took my mother-in-law to the airport. Just
Come on
there's
now.
always the mother-in-law jokes. Which your mother-in-law's coming to town
Yeah,
tomorrow.
me and her have a great relationship. I have
No, I don't. I just
don't-
thought it was an interesting time to
No, it's.
chat about it.
I'm so excited she's coming. I miss my mother and father-in-law. Yeah.
I like, we got was that a group text from?
Oh yeah, we did. We got one today.
Get a little meme from your father-in-law, and he looped me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't respond.
Well, I was trying to make sure. Like, I think I sort of recognized the number. I was like, I bet I know who this is. I think this is John's father-in-law.
Yeah.
I'll mention it to him tomorrow because I'll probably see you guys.
Okay.
Right? I'm probably going to come over. Yeah. All right. Last one. Those two are a fastidious couple. She's fast and he's hideous. All right. Come on now.
Hey.
I love this crowd. Okay. The great Henny Youngman, and that was Johnny's old joke of the week.
Oh, that's great. I liked it.
Now it's time, John, to go back, even farther back than Henny Youngman, perhaps.
Wow.
We don't know how far back
We
we
don't
might
know
go.
until
We never
you-
know until I open the annals,
you
John,
start
the
reading
annals of
it.
history.
That's right.
We call it Talk About Then. Okay, here we go. John, the first automobile this week. I guess it was
Okay,
yeah,
hold on. First actual
the
automobile?
first actual automobile this week. What do you think? 1892. 86.
I was going to say 86.
Do you want to take a guess on the name of the person? Because it's a name that you would recognize.
Oldsmobile.
What if his name was Oldsmobile?
Crazy.
Dotson. Bob Dotson.
Abraham Lincoln. Sorry, go ahead.
Carl Benz, John,
Oh.
takes his creation for its first drive in Mannheim, Germany, reaching a top speed of, guess?
12 miles per hour.
10.
Okay.
You were close,
There we
though.
go, yeah.
I thought you were going to go way up. I thought you were going to go like 20.
No.
People run 10 miles an hour. That's kind of a...
Who?
People run 10 miles
Like
an
in
hour.
the Olympics or something, maybe.
No, it's not. It's not really that. John.
You haven't seen me run.
That's true. Yeah. John can haul, man. He can get it. All right, John. This is an interesting story, I thought. The 50-star American flag,
Okay.
as we know it, officially was raised this week. You want to guess the year?
50 stars, 19. Am I in the right century?
I guess they chose July 4th,
19?
19. Yeah, because we just added the states. We just added
54.
1960.
Ah.
The 50th star was added for Hawaii, which had gained its statehood in August of 1959. So they kind of like, hey, let's
Yeah, it
wait
was
till
late
next July.
50s,
Let's put
that's
it on
right.
there. This is the part that I did not know that I thought was interesting. The flag was designed by a 17-year-old high school student, Robert G. Heft. His design was chosen out of over 1,500 designs submitted. So they just put it out there. Hey, does somebody want to come up with a 50-star flag? Put the kids on it. Like it's a class
It was a
project.
contest.
Here's the best part. Heft claimed to have designed the flag as a school project for which he received a B-. But after his flag was selected, his teacher changed his grade to an A. So she was like, after further review, now that it's on everything.
You're admitting that you made a mistake.
Yeah. However, this claim is disputed. That's in parentheses in my notes here.
Don't dispute.
I wonder if the teacher's like, no, I would never. The integrity of this profession.
I did not do that.
He also designed a 51-star flag for possible future use. He just wedged that in there somewhere. I guess he maybe shrunk them all down. I don't know what that design was. It's not like this kid had Photoshop. He's probably using clip art or something.
Or is he sewing a flag?
Oh, I don't know.
Wow,
It's a
wouldn't
good
that be something?
Yeah, I wonder if he was like drawing it on paper, if he was just literally just stitching away.
That's interesting.
So like the wind.
You would think
Robert G. Heft.
isn't it just 5 by 10?
I don't know. I mean, flags are all different sizes.
No, not that. Not 5 stars by 10 stars. Like,
Right.
Isn't that the
5
layout?
rows of 10.
Yes.
So where would you put that other? Just kind of.
That's 50. Yeah,
Just
that's what I'm
wedge
saying,
it in there.
but I'm saying, what kind of
Just
contest?
lay it on over one of the stripes.
What were the other options? Is what I'm getting at. Like, you can't put them all in a circle. It's too many.
Yeah.
I mean, would you just make it 5 by 10?
Like a spiral.
How did he win? Like, should have been like another 100,000
So you think
kids
this
who
is the
made that design.
So you think there's a design? You think it's an easy one to come up with?
I think it's way easier than the older designs with fewer stars when you do have more things to do.
I don't like.
What was his name again? Give me his number.
Robert G. Heft.
Mr. Heft. Tear down this flag.
Tear down this. Okay. John, the longest measured home run happened this week, 1929.
What?
Roy Carlisle hit a home run drive off of Ernie Nevers, sending it.
Nevers pitch again.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Sending it out of the Oakland Oaks ballpark, over the clubhouse, over the parking lot, and then over 2 buildings before it hit the gutter of a house, leaving a mark. The impact was witnessed by one of his teammates. It was 618 feet.
I don't know.
If that still stands, that would still stand, wouldn't it? Even in the steroid era, this guy was on steroids.
I don't know.
Do we want to say it?
But I
don't want to besmirch the name of Roy Carlisle.
Pray tell.
Okay.
How, if he was a teammate in the middle of a game,
right,
could he have witnessed it hit a gutter over 2 buildings away?
I don't know.
Has anyone really verified these things?
Well, I mean, it's in the news.
What are you looking at? Wikipedia? Like,
the Nevers family's trying to get this scrubbed.
Yeah, I don't know about this one.
You don't think it's real? To 600? I mean, I could try to confirm it, but
I just want to know how.
We'll issue a retraction next week if it's wrong. But for now, 618 feet, I guess, still stands as the longest measured home run.
Are we sure he wasn't throwing a golf ball? I
don't think so. Like throwing it? Could you throw a golf ball?
He pitched a golf ball and the dude just jacked it out of the stadium.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, these were wood bats too. It's not like they had metal bats back then.
Well, they don't use metal bats in the pros anyway.
That's what I mean. They never did though, did they?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Only college. They're trying to get college changed to metal.
Yeah.
To wood because it's kind of dangerous coming off there.
Yeah, or the bat going into the crowd. Whew.
Did we discuss Tennessee winning the national championship?
We did. What we haven't discussed yet, and we'll get to the last line item on the talk about then, but we've not discussed that you're now a Laker fan. Because our boy...
I will have to root for the Lakers.
Because our boy Dalton Connect
fell.
4. He fell to the Lakers at pick 17. They thought he would go top 10. He fell, and is he going to keep dropping? And then I heard my team picked him. I couldn't believe it.
They said it should have gone 6th, and he went 17th, I think.
It's crazy. He's a perfect fit. It's going to be great. He's going to play with LeBron.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be amazing.
And AD, right? I mean,
yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's a perfect fit for our team.
They said, by the way, he lost like $3 million probably a year off of that drop.
But he'll get his money second contract.
But he's making...
If he can hit an open 3, which he'll get a lot of, he's going to be a very rich man.
Yeah.
So
I should know.
He needs to get in the gym. You know, John Driver's School of Shooting.
Come on.
John's not got a great...
Well, hey.
We've not played basketball in so long.
I shot the 3 better than you did.
There's some rust, though.
Oh, that'd be some rust.
There's some...
On our previously broken ankles.
Oh, man, our ankles would be in trouble.
Snapping twain.
John, finally, this week, 1911, Mitch Miller was born. He was an American music producer and arranger. He was known for one number 1 hit in 1954 called Let Me Go Lover. Okay, this is why this made the list.
Let Me Go Lover.
This song was used by the FBI in an attempt to drive the cult Branch Davidians from their compound during the Waco disaster in 1993.
Was that bad?
Here's a guy who had a number 1 song called Let Me Go Lover. And either maybe it was the message behind the song that they thought like, hey, let these people go. They were looking for songs that had Let Me Go in it. Or it's that annoying. Because I remember when Gaddafi was holed up in his compound in the 80s. And I was just a kid. But I remember hearing that they blasted some rock music and tried to like drive him crazy. And it was like Twisted Sister or something.
Wow.
We're not going to take it.
Yeah.
And Gaddafi just came out with bleeding ears or whatever probably. That's what we wanted to think as kids. He probably was like, this is awesome.
I like this.
I like heavy metal.
Do you have the liner notes?
Exactly.
Send it with the hostage negotiator?
But anyway, yeah, can you imagine having a song that you're like, yeah, I had a number 1 hit back in the day. Oh, that's cool. Let me look it up. Don't look it up.
Nope.
Don't look, because the first line item is going to be like, he forced, it was played as a torture tactic.
Right. This song was used for psychological torture of other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose any song you play over and over again.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe.
It could have that.
Remember the old song "Let It Rain" we would sing in worship that never had an exit ramp?
Yeah, there's no way because the first and the last line is the same. So it's like, open the floodgates of heaven.
And it ends on a 5.
Let it rain. And you don't know if you... Let it rain.
Yeah, it never goes.
You can't know when to stop it. You have to shoot somebody to end that song.
Always some kid would keep going. Because it ends on a 5. I think, 5. And 5 is always a resolvable place. You never end on a 5.
Yeah.
You end on a 4. You end on a 1. You can't end on a 5. And literally, they would always bring it back around. So I guess I wouldn't call that worship song torture.
No. But
because
if you were if you were holed up in your office, what song could be used to drive you from it? If you were like, I'm not leaving.
I will tell you right now.
Yeah.
Linger by the Cranberries.
Oh, yeah?
Hate it.
Yeah.
Hate
Do you
Linger.
have to? Do you have to?
And I hate it because...
It would make you not linger, is what you're saying. You would be like, I'm out of here.
It's lazy to me because you have me wrapped around your finger.
Right.
Do you have to let it linger?
Nobody says, do you have to let it linger? What does that even mean?
What do you letting linger? And you're just trying to rhyme with finger, and then you just made it. It's like, we got it! And you just pushed record, and here we are still playing it all these years later.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you weren't talented, Cranberries. I mean, I wouldn't say you came with a super creative name either. But
it's not even their best song, honestly. They have other good songs, so that's
the only one I know.
You don't know. Yeah, you know other songs. You know Zombie. Remember that one? The one that had the heavy music. Zombie, zombie, zombie.
Yes. Yes, I do know that.
Which probably annoys you too. That one could drive you out of that'll run you out of the house.
I hear Andrew Bernard singing that whenever you sing it. I feel like he sang it maybe once on The Office.
Maybe.
Linger, and what would be yours?
What, my favorite Cranberries song?
No, the song that...
Oh, the song that would drive me... Oh, man. Yeah, something... You know, this will sound bad, but when I go to when I'm at a Mexican restaurant and they're playing mariachi music really loud.
I love mariachi music.
I just can't do it. And that makes me sound like I just hate other cultures' music. It's just that particular.
I like mariachi music.
I don't really.
Yeah.
Like you would listen to it in everyday life?
I had a friend who did, and it got me to open my mind to it. And they're good musicians, and I've seen a few live mariachi bands. Have you been to? Laura's killing me right now. Plaza Mariachi in Nashville.
It has mariachi in the name.
In the name. But it's a really cool place. It's a very multicultural place.
Curry's been there.
Curry's been there. All these little shops and stores and then restaurants and a little food court, and they had live music there. And I think I gained a respect.
Maybe if it was live.
I respect people.
Okay.
Is the difference between me and you, really. Sorry, go ahead.
I take it back. It would be Tom Jones. What's New Pussycat? No. Mariachi music just, I don't know, man.
I like that. I like that. I like that part.
Okay.
I could do that.
You got to have that.
Sometimes I'll be walking into a restaurant and I'll do that in the parking lot with my family.
Just get it out there.
And I don't get any eye rolls from either my wife or my daughter.
It's different when you do it at the steakhouse.
Yes.
They're not ready for it.
Right. They're just playing the Cranberries and they're
just holding your basket of Logan's rolls. They're like, what are you? Why would he laugh that way?
911.
His face didn't move. He just laughed without it affecting him. That's weird.
I did discover, someone gave me an instrument one time. Mm-hmm. They worked at a guitar store in Nashville and they made, and I forget what it was called. And at first I thought it was like a certain thing, but it was a mariachi instrument. It had a different number of strings than our guitars.
Or it had a baritone sound to it or something.
And I think it had the nylon
scale.
strings. Yeah, it was very different. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And it was something I couldn't use at all. But I found it interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So we've agreed now that I'm a bigot for not liking mariachi. It's just sometimes it's so
okay
loud.
not to like mariachi music.
Okay, fine. All right, that's probably...
No, that's okay. You don't have to like... If I had to pick a genre...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had to pick a genre I didn't like of music. I don't get... This truly is a cultural thing because I want to appreciate it more, but I don't get sitar music.
Yeah.
Because there's not the same, it's a very bendy note. So I think we're very, in American pop music especially, very melody centric, and not, it's almost like you're admiring the skill of the player more than, in my mind, for me, that's what I'm hearing. I'm like, oh, that guy, that's really interesting what he's doing.
Yeah.
but it's not pleasing because we don't have music that does that with those notes. You know? So I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm not a big sitar fan.
Well, it's like jazz. Jazz is basically like a lot of wrong notes.
See, I love jazz though. Like, I could sit. It drives Laura a little crazy on a cruise ship or something. I want to go sit in one of the late night jazz rooms or whatever, you know, and just sit there and listen to the bands, live bands. Because it's not just. They're not just. Here's the thing: they're playing things on purpose, accidentals on purpose, and that's pretty.
Won't that?
My guys.
Some of y'all are out here. You think it's an accident, but there's a purpose.
Man, it's on purpose.
There is a purpose.
Jazz band.
We don't know what it is.
No.
And it probably would be used to drive someone from your house, if we're honest. But keep going.
You got to keep hitting the accidentals.
Keep going.
Nah, that's great. Mm-hmm. Johnny, you know what's not accidental?
What's that?
The website that we made. Could you imagine if it just happened?
This weird segue that you...
If it just a website came out of nowhere.
Talkaboutthatpodcast.com. Go there and leave us a review, too. Subscribe, but leave us a review. Write a written review. Do a 5-star. If you feel led.
If you don't, we're leading you.
It's 5 out of 10. How's that feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is 10 stars not the best? What's going on there? Is it because of 5-star generals? Why is 5 stars
That's the
best?
first thing you go to? I don't know.
I'm saying, like, why is 5 stars the highest stars?
Maybe they just ran out of room on the page? Or
Yeah, 10 stars.
Maybe they don't want to give that much room between. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the difference really between a 7 and a 9? I mean, there's 2 stars difference. But, I mean, you can't really tell then if this, do I like it or not? A 7's pretty good, and a 9's good.
Yeah.
But is it really that much different? A 4 and a 5, big difference, guys. We don't want those 4 stars.
No.
We need those 5 stars.
They mess us up.
We're looking for those 5-star champions.
We are. Stretch your hands towards your pod.
Towards your pod.
I don't know what it is. Isn't that funny that, like, podcasts, somebody said this the other day on a TikTok video, like Sadie's generation does not even know really, or especially her kids are not going to know. The term podcast came from iPod broadcast.
Yeah.
She's not going to understand that. She just knows a podcast is a thing.
Right.
She definitely doesn't know what a broadcast was.
No.
Which came from, like, the guy said, this came from soil seeding because you would broadcast seeds.
Yes.
So they said, we got to get all this information out. We're going to disseminate this information. Broadcasting.
So it's a broadcast spreader. Yeah.
So now we have podcasts. I don't know. And we have a generation coming up that does not know what an iPod was. They'll be like, what?
Why would you do
Just for music?
You couldn't see a video?
That's dumb.
Why would you?
And you go, no, it was real dumb.
I liked iPods.
Did you?
We loved
them. Were we
them.
less distracted?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Way less distracted.
No apps.
There's a thing now on Instagram, which that's irony, called a brick.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, where these guys made it to make themselves less distracted.
Yeah, you literally, you touch the brick or whatever, or turn on the brick, and it bricks your phone and turns it back into a phone.
Yeah.
And you choose which things you take off of it, and it all of a sudden disables all the things but the things you actually need to have a phone. So you could be just a person with a phone again for a few minutes.
Maybe we should do that. You want to try it?
I thought about
just do like a month. Just do like a month with a brick. We could do like a little case study. Maybe they'd become a sponsor.
Maybe they would, because we would talk about that. That fits with our messaging here.
It does a little bit. Well, we're just old men shouting at the clouds at this point, aren't we?
But what if people put a brick on their phone and they can't hear their podcast app? See, that's when we just hurt ourselves. This is why the whole thing continues.
That's true.
We sit here and rail against it on the device.
And then we go, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
That's right.
Please accept us.
Guys, we're saying we're a part of the problem, but we're not afraid to confess that.
Turns out we're hypocrites, and we apologize. But we love you very much.
We do. We do. Check out Jonnie W, JONNIEW.com for all of Johnny's latest tour dates. He's made videos galore. They're all over the internet.
I do want to say, this big show coming up in Cincinnati, if you're a Central Ohio person. I guess that's Central Ohio. Come to Cincinnati, even if you're close. Because big show there on July the 28th. One night only. And I even bring my buddy Sean Reynolds to open the show. So that's going to be a fun one.
Hey, come for the comedy, stay for the Skyline Chili.
Yes. It's good stuff.
It is good.
I like Skyline Chili.
Yeah, I do too.
I know people hate on it in the South, but I like it.
When we were in Louisville for volleyball, we went and ate at the Skyline Chili place.
It's good stuff.
And maybe in the same place that you and I went and ate at that time driving through, or was that Cincinnati? Did we drive it through Louisville or through?
Yeah, well, they're there. They're way up there, too.
Right, I just can't remember which one. It looked very similar to me.
Yeah, well, they're all the same, John. Skyline, it's a chain.
Wow.
That's like saying, did we eat at that Wendy's or the other Wendy's? It doesn't matter. No one cares, John.
I'm curious about geography.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to notice where I was. You're a fool, John. Guys, don't be a fool, though. Subscribe. Go to check out Johnny's podcast. This is Johnny's podcast. Check out his website and go follow him. He's a great follow. Guys, we appreciate all the time you gave to us this week. It means a lot. Happy 4th of July. We'll see you next week on
Talk About That.